بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور صدق الله العظيم. The most certain thing in this world is death, and the most uncertain thing in this world is the time for death. The most certain thing in this world is death, and the most uncertain thing in this world is the time for death. Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu says, أتيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عاشر عشرة. I came to the gathering of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a group of 10 people. 10 of us came to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فقام رجل من الأنصار. So one person from our group, he stood up. He said, O Prophet of Allah, I have a question. من أكيس الناس ومن أحزم الناس. Who is the most intelligent person? Who has reached the peak, the height of intelligence, intellectuality? So what answer the Prophet ﷺ gave, without any hesitation. Everybody has a different perspective, definition for the most intelligent person. But O Prophet of Allah, I am asking you, in your dictionary, in your definition, who is the most intelligent person? Now, this question is being asked to such a personality. There cannot be anybody more intelligent than him in the creation of Allah. Just one narration comes to mind, the narration of Kanzul Ummal. Allah made intellect into 100 parts, and He took one part out of the 100 parts and He distributed it amongst all His creation. So what me and you feel proud about, that I am very intelligent, is just a little part of that one part. What did Allah do with the other 99? The remaining 99, Allah took it and gathered it in the personality of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the intellectual level of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the 99 times more than the intellect of the rest of the creation of Allah put together. So now this question is being posed to him, that O Prophet of Allah, who is the most intelligent? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أكثرهم ذكرا للموت. The one who remembers death the most, and not only remembers death, وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ إِسْتِعْدَادًا لِلْمَوْتِ, he prepares for death the most as well. So his actions are also such, there cannot be anybody more intelligent than this person. Now few people are talking, sitting down, they're having a discussion. The topic is business, the topic is sports, the topic is politics. Now one or two people from amongst them, they say, let's talk about death. Death is something which everybody needs to go through. How are we going to prepare for death? How are we doing? Everybody will look at him and say, yeah, you are right. Then they'll go back to their own topic, whatever they were talking about, politics, sports, business. That person, he mentions it again. So everybody will look down on him. He said, yeah, nobody is denying what you've said, but why are you continuously bringing the topic of death up? Are you all up there? Me and you will look down on a person who remembers death the most, who mentions death the most. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying there cannot be anybody more intelligent than him, because it is the decisive moment. It is the penalty time. A person could be living a whole life in a certain way, but the way he will die, that will decide everything. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions a long hadith. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu is narrating the hadith. He says, I heard the Prophet ﷺ, وَهُوَ الصَّادِقُ الْمَصْدُوقُ. There cannot be anybody more truthful than Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anybody who was trusted more than Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was no need for him to mention this, but when he's mentioning this hadith, he mentions this. So at the latter part of the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is taking a qasam. فَوَاللَّهِ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُهُ إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ حَتَّى لَا يَكُونَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبُقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلَهَا. A person, his entire life, he does the action of the people of Jannah to the extent that he's so close to Jannah that between him and Jannah there is only one arm's length, zira, meaning just death. And as he dies, he will be in the gardens of Jannah. The grave could become a garden of Jannah as well. So, but then the way he died, or something happened at that last moment. See, it's a very dangerous moment. Allah make it easy for us. Because shaitan knows that if I take away Iman from him now, he'll be with me in Jahannam. I won't be in Jahannam alone. So I need company. So he tries so hard that sometime at the time of a person's death, he comes in the form of a person's late mother. Shaitan sometimes takes the form of the person's late father or some very close friend of his. And now this person is about to leave this world. Now he sees his late father next to him, he sees his late mother next to him, or he sees his best friend next to him who's passed away, and who's telling him, just believe me. What is this Allah? Who is this? What is all this Quran, Islam? And the person sees this, he doesn't know this is shaitan. He doesn't know this is shaitan. And he starts doubting Iman. He starts doubting Quran. And with those doubts, he leaves this world, he has died without Iman. Allah make it easy for us. That's why it's very, very important that we understand. Shaitan comes, attacks a person's Iman at this time of death. And when Dajjal will come, Dajjal will also say that that's another moment when he will play the same games. So Dajjal will come and he said, do you believe I am Allah? So the person says, no, how can you be Allah? He said, what proof do you want? Do you want your late mother, your late father, your best friend or somebody to become alive and tell you that I am Allah? So he said, yes. So now the narration says that shaitan will be working with Dajjal again. Because wherever there is an attack on Iman, shaitan is there. Because that's his main job. So he will take the form of the person's late mother, late father or something. They say, oh my son, this is your Allah, believe in him. Allah safeguard our Iman. On the other hand, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned on the same hadith, وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ حَتَّى لَا يَكُونَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبُقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فَيَدْخُلَهَا. A person, his entire life, he does the action of the people of Jahannam. He stayed his entire life in kufr. But he's so close to Jahannam that he dies, he's in Jahannam. Just death is in between. But last moment somebody comes and they tell him about Allah and he takes the Shahada and he becomes a Muslim and he dies with that Iman. Subhanallah. He hasn't done anything, but he'll be in Jannah now. Allah make it from amongst these people who are from the people of Jannah. Very critical moment. One incident, inshallah, to make us understand. When the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina Munawwara, then there was a lot of people that came to visit him, to meet him, to greet him. So one Sahabi, who was that time not yet a Muslim, he came, Talha radiallahu anhu, and he said, "O Prophet of Allah, what is your message?" So he said, "I am here to make you believe in the oneness of Allah, and I am the final Prophet of Allah." So he said, "Okay, from today I take your message on board and I believe in everything you have brought to me." So the Prophet ﷺ looks at him and says, "Youngster, maybe he's just making a very big decision in his hype." So just to test him, how sincere he was, just a little test, the Prophet of Allah ﷺ told him, "Go and kill your father." So immediately he pulled the sword out, heading towards his house. The Prophet of Allah immediately stopped him. He said, "I was just testing you." Then he said, "I'm not in Medina to break families. I have come to Medina to make families." So every day he used to attend the gathering of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to learn deen from Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you just imagine how blessed these Sahaba were? He said, "We feel proud that I learned from this person, I learned from that person. This person is my ustad, this person is my teacher. I attended this program and I attended." Sahaba, we learn deen from the Prophet of Allah. Can there be anything better? I perform salah behind the Prophet of Allah. And then we have people who talk ill about these Sahaba. How do they have the audacity? Just like the way the Prophet of Allah was chosen, each of his student, each of his Sahabi was also chosen by Allah. So Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman radiallahu anhu was not anybody and everybody. They were the choice of Allah. Allah chose them to be a Sahabi. So anyway, he continued attending the gatherings of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He started learning deen. One day the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he looked around and he didn't see him. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked the Sahaba that, "I don't see this Sahabi, this youngster which used to come." So there was a time when he was in love with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the Prophet of Allah also used to like him a lot. So now he missed him. He said, "Where is he gone?" So then they investigated and they found out that he's very ill, very sick. So the Prophet ﷺ immediately got up and he said, "Let's go and visit him." This is also part of deen, to go and visit sick people, ill people. Part of deen. We tell the students, we tell the brothers that subhanallah, once a month, if not once or twice a month, we should just make a habit of visiting the old people's home. Visit the elderly in the community. Visit the old people in the hospitals. Nobody to visit them. The family have left them there. Islam teaches us to go and visit the sick people, whether they are Muslim, whether they are non-Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Man aada maridan," the one who visits a sick person, whether he's a Muslim, whether non-Muslim, regardless, he's a sick person, you go and visit him. "Lam yazal fi khurfatil jannah hatta yarja." He will be continuously walking in the gardens of Jannah until he comes back. So this is also a great, one doctor, he was mentioning that his job is to go and see all the critically ill people. If you make this type of organization and we let it know the authorities, I'm sure they won't have any issues. So this doctor, he was mentioning that he goes and visits the sick people, and he knows that some of these people are only around for a few hours maybe. Or he knows that these people, they're going to be offing the machine, they're switching off the machine on him. So he says to them, he said, "The last favor I can do to you is just, if you can, read the kalima, shahada." He said, I have seen so many people who don't know about Allah reading the kalima very easily. Very easily they are reading the shahada and they are dying with iman. Although their family will not know that they have died with iman, their family will give them a burial according to their religion. But Allah knows. Allah knows. Hazrat Shaykh Zakaria Rahmatullah Ali mentions that we don't have any regret over that person who doesn't have a Muslim name, who's not a Muslim, and he gets up on the day of Qiyamah with those who don't have iman. We regret it, but not as much as a person who had a Muslim name. He lived among Muslims. His janazah was done as well. And they buried him in a Muslim graveyard. But on the day of Qiyamah, he's being resurrected with the people without iman, because of the things he did in his life. Allah save us. We don't know when our iman could be taken away. What I did, that I lost my iman. That is why the Prophet ﷺ mentions, Jaddidu imanakum. Revive your iman, refresh your iman every day. It's La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Oh Allah, I don't know. I have done so many things wrong today. I have said so many things wrong, which could have taken my iman away from me. On the other hand, that doctor, he mentions that I visit so many Muslims with Muslim names. I tell them to read the Shahada. They try their best, but they cannot read the Shahada. They die without reading the Shahada. Allah give us the ability. Allah make Shahada easy for us at the time of death, because that will decide. The Prophet ﷺ said to Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu, Man kana akhiru kalamihi La ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. The one who will die, the last words are La ilaha illallah, he will enter Jannah. Amazing. Abu Zur'a rahmatullah alayhi is leaving this world. His students are around him. Now he's a muhaddith. He's a muhaddith of his time. One Abu Zur'a is a tabi'i who comes in the final hadith of Bukhari. An Abi Zur'a an Abi Hurayrah radiyallahu anhu qala qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kalimatani. In that hadith he comes. But this is another Abu Zur'a who came a bit later. So his students are around him. Now they are saying that how can we do the talqeen to this great muhaddith who is leaving this world? How can we do the talqeen? So there are 3-4 great muhaddiths sitting around him who are amongst his students. So they said, okay, let us start mentioning the sanad of the hadith. So one of them says, حدثني بندار عن أبي عاصم عن عبد الحميد بن جعفر عن صالح بن أبي غريب. That's it. Then they stop the sanad. Then the other one mentions his sanad. Then the third one mentions his sanad. Now this person is on the verge of dying. He's just, in the next few moments, his soul will be out. But at that time, because those people had stopped, so he carried on the sanad. حدثني أبي عاصم عن عبد الحميد بن جعفر عن صالح بن أبي غريب عن كثير بن مرة الحضرمي عن معاذ بن جبل رضي الله عنه عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من كان آخر كلامه لا إله إلا الله دخل الجنة. And that's when his soul was taken out. The person who lived his life mentioning the words of Allah, the words of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's dying mentioning La ilaha illallah. Allah make it from amongst these people. So Talha radiallahu anhu is very ill. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam immediately gets up. He said, let's go and visit him. The point I'm trying to make is, we don't know which elderly person we will go to meet, and that will make them happy, and that will make them happy about Muslims and Islam, and they are ready to take Shahada. That same day or the next day or in the next few days they will be leaving this world. Imagine, they will be saved from the fire of Jahannam forever and ever. But we don't know. If we just revive this sunnah of visiting the elderly in our community, so many people could be dying with iman. If we just revive this sunnah of visiting the sick in the hospital, so many people could be dying with iman. Allah give us the ability. So the Prophet ﷺ goes to the house of Talha radiallahu anhu, and he sees that Talha is totally unconscious. So the Prophet ﷺ becomes emotional. He reads something, blows on him, tells the family that it seems that Talha is not going to be with us for very long. He seems very serious. So if you can, as soon as he passes away, please call me immediately. I want to personally come and do his janazah. So the Prophet ﷺ went away. After a while, Talha radiallahu anhu became conscious. So the family, they informed him that the Prophet ﷺ came with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and this is what he said. So he said, no. When I die at night, don't disturb my beloved Prophet ﷺ. Because where he is and where we are, they are enemies of Islam in between. And if anything wrong happens to him, as he is coming to my janazah, as he is coming to my funeral, I don't want him to be harmed in any way because of me. I tried my best. Now this is what an inspiration for all of us. I tried my best. Talha radiallahu anhu is saying, I tried my best never to harm the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam whilst I am alive. Do you think I want any harm to come on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam after I die? After I die? Allah give us such inspiration, such motivation. I don't want any harm to come on Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of me. Today, the way we living our life, if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to be amongst us today, do you think he will be happy with us? Or would he feel offended? Something to think about. If my actions are presented in front of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam every week, is he happy with my actions? If the Prophet ﷺ was shown the book of deeds on the day of Qiyamah, would he be happy with my book of deeds? Allah give us such iman. Let us make an intention not to harm the Prophet of Allah in any way, whilst we are alive and even after we die. Such motivation of Talha radiallahu anhu. So anyway, he passed away, and then they did the janazah. They didn't inform the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ come in the morning, and he is told that Talha radiallahu anhu passed away at night. And this is what he said, he never wanted to harm you, to cause any trouble to you in any way, so then that is why you were not informed. So then the Prophet ﷺ came to the grave of Talha radiallahu anhu. And according to one narration, he did the janazah again. If he did it, that's his specialty. He could do it because he was the Prophet of Allah, he was the Prophet of the time. We cannot do it today, separate rulings. According to another narration, he didn't do the janazah, but he was standing there and praying a lot for Talha radiallahu anhu, making a lot of dua for him. And one of the dua he made for Talha radiallahu anhu, Allahumma alqi Talha, oh Allah, meet Talha in such a way that when he is looking at you, he is happy. When you are looking at him, you are happy with him. Umar radiallahu anhu said that day I felt so envious. I wish I was in that grave and the Prophet of Allah was making this dua for me. If we live a good life, pleasing Allah, do you think Allah will not be pleased with us after we die? Let us, Ramadan comes to keep us focused, to get us back on track. That this rat race we are in, work, business, family, latest phone, sports. Even in Ramadan, some people can't give up sports. Just a few hours ago, one brother, he was asking me, he said, if someone is traveling all the way to London for football, should he fast or not? So Ramadan and football? How do you have time for these things? I said, the ulama have written, the rulings are for a fasting person, traveling person to fast or not. For somebody who is traveling for the right reasons, for good reasons. The fuqaha have written that if a person is going to another area to commit haram, first of all, he shouldn't even be taking this journey. He shouldn't even be doing this at all, first of all. And the second thing is that he said that I am going to read my salah qasar, musafir, half. He said it's not allowed for him because that journey shouldn't even have been there in the first place. That journey is useless. In fact, he needs to do tawbah from that journey and read his salah full. Allah give us understanding. We need to become focused. How much are we preparing for our death? How much are we preparing for our akhirah? May Almighty Allah, first of all, give me the ability, give all of us the ability to make preparation for our death before we die. We are going somewhere for holiday, we are going somewhere for Hajj, we are going somewhere, we are going for Umrah or something. We make so much preparation. Wedding is coming 2 years later, the people are booking halls from now. So 2018, 2019, we want to book halls on this day. We want to hire cars on this day. We want to do this on this day. Something which will only 1 day or 2 days. Death, which will take us away from this world forever and ever. How much are we preparing for it? How much are we planning for it? How much are we packing for it? May Almighty Allah give all of us the ability to stock as much good deeds as we can. Ramadan is a sale, is a season. You do one farad, Allah will give you the reward of 70 fara'id. Where will you get this? Make the most out of it. You do one nafil, Allah will give you the reward of a farad. Where will you get this? That is why Ramadan is the season. We cannot lack in anything. We cannot be negligent even for a moment. Every second is precious. Every second should be making the most out of this sale, this season Allah has given us. That will help us in this world, that will help us at the time of death, it will help us in our grave, and it will be with us in Jannah as well. May Almighty Allah first of all give me the ability, or give all of us the ability. Ameen wa sallallahu wa sallam ala rasulina Muhammad.